What's up guys, my name is Stu and welcome to another GCSE revision guide. Today we're going to be talking about President Nixon mainly and his role in the Vietnam War, and mainly the key topics are going to be like Vietnamisation, the Madman Theory and things like that. So there you go. You might notice the quality is a bit better on this than my past few videos because I'm using a camera for this, like a proper camera, not just a webcam, because I have that available today. So I'm not going to have that available all the time, but there you go, let's get to it. Right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is after the Tet Offensive. So after the Tet Offensive, basically President Johnson said the war, we're not going to win this. Like, you know, I touched on that in the last video. They said the war was going to be unwinnable, and he said it wasn't going to be won with the military. And they reduced the bombing campaign, things like that. And basically, what the USA decided they wanted, well, they wanted this all along, but especially now, they wanted South Vietnam to be independent, and North Vietnam wanted South Vietnam free from foreign influence. So, sort of a weird thing, because they both sort of want the same thing, but for different reasons. And nobody really knows what South Vietnam wanted, so bit of a weird one. So there you go. And after the Tet Offensive as well, in 1969, President Johnson said he wasn't going to run for re-election, and President Nixon was elected in 1969. I think he'd been knocking around for a while, President Nixon. Yeah, he decided to run for presidency and he got it. So now we're just going to talk about President Nixon and what he did. Now his election campaign, so to speak, was that he said he wanted to bring the troops home, which obviously the public loved. They loved hearing that. But he couldn't abandon Vietnam, which is understandable. So I think people thought, right, well, he wants to. Well, he understands we need to stay there for a bit, but he does want to bring the troops home. So that's good. So that's why he got elected. And his idea was to win the war and win the peace. So by winning peace, you know, you have to win the war. But in reality, he had absolutely no intention of stopping the war. He had no intention. He actually upscaled bombing, and yeah, nobody really came home for a while. So he sort of lied, but as politicians do, you know. But his overall aim was something called Vietnamisation, and Vietnamisation is a really easy concept to understand, but it'll actually get you quite a lot of marks. So yeah, learn it as we're going to talk about it now. Alright, so Vietnamisation is basically, I'm going to use a real world example now that you might understand a bit better. What we're doing in Afghanistan and those Iraq, Afghanistan, we are trying to move the operations that we're doing, the British Army, the US Army, over to the Afghan Army and the Iraqi Army, and against the Taliban. So that means training the troops, giving the troops equipment. So you could call that Afghanisation. But yeah, so basically, as I've written down there, it's to leave the country and to be replaced by the ARVN, which is the South Vietnamese Army. So the US would train the ARVN, and they give them equipment to be able to carry on the work of the US soldiers, you know, without the US having to be there, which would be a win-win for everyone, I guess. So that's Vietnamisation. It's just basically handing over the operations. Okie doke, so now we're going to talk about the Madman Theory. And the Madman Theory is conjured up, I think, by President Nixon. It might have been one of his advisors, but anyway, he was the one who sort of carried it out. And what he wanted to do was to frighten the North Vietnamese into thinking that he would do anything and he's capable of anything. So we've probably seen examples of that in history as well. Maybe like Saddam Hussein, making people, like, everyone thought he had nukes, but he didn't. And like that's sort of what Nixon did. He probably did have nukes, but he wasn't going to use them. But he was like literally, you know, come on, if we don't go into talks, I'm going to bomb the fuck out of you, basically. Oop, I shouldn't have sworn. That's nasty. Yeah, and he just wanted to make them believe into he was capable of anything. He would do anything to win the war, and hopefully that frightened them into being like, oh no, we better talk to this guy. But he was never going to do that. So there you go. I apologise for the bad language. But that's the end of this video. It's been quite short. But if you head over to StuMercerRevision.wordpress.com, there'll be some more stuff on there soon about history. There's nothing on there at the moment, but I will update it. I'm going to do a sort of President Nixon Part 2 at some point, because there's quite a bit more to talk about like the end of the Vietnam War. And then we're going to move on to like the Great Depression, things like that. So Thank you to everyone who's watching my videos, hopefully it's helping you, and I will see you later.